Welcome back. All right, so at the quarter point of the season, something I did last year, I think I did it the year before as well, grading out how teams are doing. And so what I've got on the board here is the standings. Number 1, which are the Capitals, all the way through to number 32, and it's Ottawa. And I want to grade them out. Now, the way that I decide on the grades is simple. What did we expect? So at the start of the season, were expectations low? If they're low and that team's meeting those expectations, they'll likely get a C. If a team's exceeding those expectations, A+. If a team is below expectations, that's where the D's and F's start to come in. And there will likely be an F or two in this. But I promise, for all the families watching out there, I only mean the letter F and not the bombs that you hear about every now and then. And especially on the internet with the webs and the tubes and all that. There's a lot of YouTubes that might have some of the F's and the bombs that are combined. Not here. All right, so we'll start at the top and we'll go to the bottom. Pretty simple, right? Washington Capitals 14-3-5, 750 points percentage. But 14 wins in 22 games. And this shows how skewed things can get when you look at a record. Because you look at 14-3-5 and you go, that's great. They've won 14 out of 22 games, which is good. They're winning more than half of their games. They're winning a little over 66% of their games. But that's where that points percentage can really spike because of the overtime and shootout losses pushing that points percentage up. They're 9-3-2 in November. Notice I'm saying they are because there's still November games to be played tonight, including the Capitals. Ovechkin, 22 games, 19 goals, 18 assists, 37 points. There's a player for each team because I was like, I don't want to just do standings. I want to talk about players on each team. Ovechkin, people keep saying he's going to slow down. And I'm telling you, I expected it by now. 19 goals in 22 games is the opposite of slowing down. He's on pace for over 60 goals this year. So, I mean, if he gets 65 goals this year, he has a pretty good chance of, moving up the list and, threatening the you-know-who. But anyways, for the Caps, I can't give them a grade below an A+, because they've been that good. So we get to Toronto, 16-6-1, 717 points percentage. November, 12-2. So it started off badly for them by their standard. And again, if I was giving out this grade in October, it would have been a lower grade. But what an amazing month they've had. Now, is there too much hype? Probably a little bit. Probably. But that's Toronto, right? Fans, media in general, that hype really gets up there. We'll see if that record becomes a little more pedestrian in December. You can't think that they're going to be 12-2 or in that range every month. Winning at that level, it's tough to keep that up. But they've been excellent. Austin Matthews, he had a slow start. Now he's sitting at 10 goals and 9 assists for 19 points in 20 games. He's on pace for about 40 goals. Would I be surprised if he got 50? Not really, no. I really think he is one of the better goal scorers in the league. That being said, I'm going to give the Leafs a solid. I'll give them an A. And the reason is simple. I think that they have exceeded expectations at that record. I'm giving the A+ to the Caps because, hey, they've done it without Backstrom. So while I say that the injuries don't necessarily have that big of an influence, Capitals having that record without Backstrom is fantastic. But this is where it gets interesting, too, because they've won 16 out of 23 games here in Toronto, 14 wins in 22 games with the Caps, but they've got the 4 extra overtime and shootout loss points. So that means that their points percentage is higher than Toronto's, which is 717. Interesting. Carolina, 15-4-1. Their points percentage is 775. In November, they're 7-4-1. They were undefeated in October. So their record in October was fantastic. Does that mean they make the playoffs? Yeah, probably it does. Sebastian Aho, what's interesting with him, 20 games, 10 goals, 10 assists, 20 points. He gets a lot of opportunities that don't go in the net. There have been plenty of games with Aho where I've been like, man, he should have had the goal there, or he had a really nice pass and it just didn't quite click. I feel like point of game is low for him. And I really think it's going to start going in that direction where by mid-season, I would not be surprised to see him with 50 points in 40 games, or 41, which is the exact halfway mark, but we'll see. And so for Carolina, yeah, I've got to give them an A. They've done very, very well, especially considering all the new players that are in the lineup and how well they've played with all those new players. Florida, 14-4-3 on the season, 738 points percentage. November's been a bit more of a slog at 6-4-2. Nobody can keep up that pace. And yes, Quenneville being let go when he was, did it disrupt things? Maybe. But were the Panthers playing over their heads? Probably a little bit. Plus, Barkov's been out and they're starting to feel that. 15 games for Barkov, 9 goals, 8 assists, 17 points. Barkov is a fantastic player. So in that Barkov hasn't been in the lineup, it definitely leaves a hole down the middle for them. I haven't seen anything about Florida looking to make a trade to fix it. I don't think Barkov's going to be out that much longer. But again, for Florida, I've got to give them an A. So yeah, so far, they're all A's. Calgary, 13, 4, and 5. I'm a very fair teacher, and I think I would have been a popular teacher. There would have been a lot of, I should have failed you, but you did this over here, and good for you. The best teachers I had in high school were very much of that mind, that they didn't just view it all as just right, wrong, and there's the above and the below. They'd look at extra work you might have done or something else you said, and they said, hey, I gave you bonus points because you answered this question here. It's bonus. So some bonus points being given to hockey teams. Calgary, 13, 4, and 5 on the season, 705 points percentage. There are way too many teams above 700 right now. In November, 7, 3, and 4. So what's interesting to me is they've only won half of their games in November, but since they lost 4 of them in extra time, they're 7, 3, and 4. Johnny Gaudreau in a contract year, 22 games, 9 goals, 16 assists, 25 points. I think he's back to being the Johnny Gaudreau we knew a few seasons ago. For Calgary, I'll give them an A- only because, I mean, they've been good. But again, 13, 4, and 5 means they've won 13 out of 22 games. And we'll see how things go for them from here. There's been a lot of wins by shutout, which tells you that if they allow a goal, they're less likely to win it, right? 6, 4, and 5 when they don't record a shutout. It's bizarre, but it is the way with Calgary. I hope that they aren't too mad at me for giving them an A-, because it's still an A, right? Edmonton, 15 and 5, 750 points percentage in November. They're 9 and 4, so no overtime loss points here. And so their points percentage is exactly where it would be if we were just going by wins. Evan Bouchard, to me, stands out. 20 games, 2 goals, 9 assists, 11 points. He's really taken that next step. Edmonton's blue line is maligned, and I think unfairly so. I think their blue line's been good. Cece's been a good pickup. I know that Keith is still a work in progress at times, but Keith's a veteran presence, and as long as they don't overplay him, right? So Bouchard coming along is really good for them. I'll go ahead and give Edmonton an A. So I'll give them a higher grade than Calgary, because what's life without chaos? So, yeah, but again, 15 wins in 20 games is impressive. That's on pace for 60 wins. How can I not give them an A? The Rangers, 13, 4, and 3, 725 points percentage in November, 7, 2, and 2. Amazing run for the New York Rangers. Adam Fox, 20 games, 4 goals, 17 assists for 21 points. It's been a very good month for them. Now, the one thing with them, some of these wins are thefts by Shesterkin, but they're still winning these games. Their record is very close to the record of the Washington Capitals, and they've done better than I think was expected. They made some big offseason moves in the front office, and I don't think that's led to this. I think if Gorton was still in charge, they'd still have the 13, 4, and 3 record. Just saying. Most of the pieces that are on this roster were already there before they blew everything up, so I think they'd still be there. I can't not give them an A, can I? I just can't. 700 points percentage should mean you're an A. Okay? All right. Minnesota, 14, 6, and 1, 690 points percentage. In November, 9, 3, and 1. I just want to point out the Minnesota Wild are 8th overall, because me having them at 8th on the power rankings board, which they're not right now. They usually are on a Saturday, but right now they're not number 8. They're actually number 27. I had to do a bit of an adjustment. So, I'm kidding. They're 9, 3, and 1 this month, though. It's been a very good run for them. Very consistent. Hartman stands out to me. 21 games, 12 goals, 4 assists, 16 points. Career year, it would seem. If he ends up scoring 30 goals, which he's on pace to be higher than, that's a huge win for Minnesota, right? I honestly think that with the season they've had, comparatively speaking with what might have been expected, especially after Kaprizov's holdout and everything, Kaprizov's been pretty good too. I just wanted to talk about Hartman. I'll give Minnesota an A+. Sure, why not? So we move over to column number 2, and this is where it gets tough too. Tampa Bay, 12, 5, and 3. They have a 675 points percentage. In November, though, they're 8, 2, and 2. Their November record is one of the better records in the NHL. Stamkos, Remember him? So it's not that long ago with Stamkos, he was having trouble scoring goals, and there was some belief that with his wrist injuries and whatnot that he might never be that goal scorer again. He may never get back to 60 goals, sure, but he has 11 goals, 13 assists for 24 points in 20 games. Very good. He's on pace for 45 goals this year. So that's a good season for anybody, except maybe Ovechkin. Ovechkin might look at 45 and go, could have been better. So for Stamkos, it's been a nice return to form, especially with Point out and Kucherov, of course, being out and them losing a lot of their depth in the offseason. I will say, though, it's offset nicely by the kids coming in and playing well. Kachuk especially. So for Tampa, yeah, sure. And I get the feeling that's probably where the A's finish. Just saying. I mean, I don't plan this out ahead of time. St. Louis, 11-7-3, 595 points percentage. But in November, 5-6-3. November's been a bit more of an adjustment for them. Vlad Tarasenko, very good early. His numbers are still good overall. 7 goals, 12 assists, 19 points in 21 games. The most important thing with Tarasenko, the 21 games. It's nice to see some of the scoring come back, but that 21 games, that's huge. So for St. Louis in October, they're an A. I would say based on what we've seen from them right now, I'll throw a B- up there for St. Louis. Anaheim, this is where it gets tough. Anaheim was expected to be bad. Really quite bad. And they started out bad. They're 11-8-3 currently. 568 points percentage. They're 8-4 in November. Terry, 21 games, 13 goals, 10 assists, 23 points. That amazing point streak for Troy Terry. I don't expect him to be at a point a game by the end of the year, but he's there right now. And he should at least be a 65-point guy with how he's produced so far this year, right? That'd only be 42 more points in 61 games. So that should be reachable for him considering how well he's got off to this start this year, right? Although 21 games of the season, it's a quarter, not really a start. For them, I'm going to give them a solid, I'll say B+. It's been an all over because, again, there's the winning streak in there that does kind of skew things. There have been some losses surrounding that winning streak too, so we'll see if Anaheim can stay in the hunt. Pittsburgh is a tough one to rate. 10-7-5. So, are they above 500? Yes, they have a 568 points percentage, the same as Anaheim. They've won 10 games out of 22. Anaheim's won 11 out of 22. So, right? Crosby is starting to find that scoring touch again. 10 games now, 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points. In November, they've been 7-4-3. Considering they're still competitive with Crosby still recovering from injury, from being in the protocol list, which affects your conditioning, and they've been without Malkin. They've been without a lot of players at different points in time, Rust being out too. Considering everything they've gone through and the fact that they're still competitive, they're still in the hunt, I'll throw a B on there for them. No problem. Columbus, 12-7. So 632 points percentage. 7-4 in the month of November. They were supposed to be the worst team in the Metro. They're not. Voracek, being brought over from Philadelphia, seems to have helped him and the team. 19 games, 1 goal, 17 assists, 18 points. He has been a fantastic setup man for Columbus. It has worked out quite well for them. I would even go as far as to say the Atkinson trade for Voracek right now, I give Columbus the edge in that trade. Atkinson has done well, although he's slowed lately. So for me, Voracek's been fantastic. Columbus, again, compared to what was expected, I'll give them a B+, because they were not supposed to be here. Vegas, 12-9, 571 points percentage, so no overtime loss points, the same as Columbus. 8-5 on the season. Max Pacioretty, back from injury. He's now played 4 games, 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points on the season. Could be a huge part of a turnaround, and Vegas getting back to the kinds of numbers beyond that 571 and more into that 750 range to try to track down Edmonton, to try to track down Calgary, and make themselves one of the top teams in the league yet again. Points-wise, they are already at a better clip than Anaheim. Anaheim 11-8-3, Vegas 12-9. So Vegas, again, we'll see if they can rattle off enough wins. I'm not going to bet against them because that's a bad idea. Can't bet against Vegas. The house always wins, right? And what bigger house is there than Vegas when it comes to the whole gambling side of things? So for Vegas, I'll give them a B overall. There's been times where I thought they haven't looked great. There have also been times where I thought they look like their old selves. So to me, it evens out to a B. Winnipeg. This is a tough one. Winnipeg's 10-8-4. 545 points percentage. But in the month of November, they're 6-6-2. And they've kind of crashed hard recently, right? So Connor, to me, is one of the more underrated goal scorers in the league. 22 games, 14 goals, 10 assists, 24 points for Kyle Connor. If I had to grade Winnipeg right now, it's a C. It's a C for Winnipeg. Based, just averaged out through the whole season. It'd be a failing grade for the last 2 weeks. But overall, I'll give them a C. They're going to have to start to turn things around, though. That loss last night against Arizona, if that doesn't get them going, I don't know what will. And it's weird because Vejmelka saves 46 shots, and yet it just felt like a lot of them Winnipeg was just shooting it at him. And I don't want to take it away from his first shutout. That was great, and his saves are awesome. His save percentage is great. But it felt like Winnipeg wasn't Winnipeg last night. They're supposed to be a very elite-level team when it comes to scoring goals. Colorado, 11-6-1, 639 points percentage. This is where it's interesting. Their points percentage is better than Winnipeg, Vegas, than Columbus, and Pittsburgh, Anaheim, St. Louis. So points percentage-wise, they're up in here. And so, yeah, they're right up in the same range as Minnesota, though Minnesota's won 3 games more than Colorado. Colorado has 3 games in hand on Minnesota. So watch that. That could very well be the race for first place in the division. They are 7-2-1 in November. Nazem Kadri, 18 games, 7 goals, 20 assists, 27 points. I already saw an article today about how Kadri's priced himself out of Colorado when his extension is due. And I got to agree, I don't know how you fit him under the cap with the way he's producing right now. And you have to look at this season and say it's a career year. That this is not something he'll be able to replicate every year. He's got fantastic teammates, or line mates, I should say, with McKinnon out. So that's going to change when McKinnon comes back. The expectation is the scoring will drop. But will it? That's the question mark. So Colorado, for me, honestly, I'll throw a B+ on their overall grade. But definitely an A for the month of November. The slow start, rough schedule. It all evens out. They end up, I think, B+. San Jose, 11-9-1, 548 points percentage in November. They're 6-6-1. They've been good at times and bad at others. I can't start singing the Facts of Life. I can't do it. This audience is way too young for me to start singing the theme to Facts of Life. So Timo Meier, 16 games, 9 goals, 11 assists, 20 points. He is playing like the player that they signed to that bridge extension. I mean, 4 years, but by today's standards, it's bridge extension. Which pays him very well at the end of it, and he'll get paid very well beyond it, apparently, because 20 points in 16 games tells you he's on pace for, if he was playing every game, which he hasn't, he's missed the 5 games so far. Yeah, 5 games so far. He'd be on pace for 100 points, but we'll see. Maybe he still ends up getting there. For me, San Jose, I'll give them a C+ overall. And again, this is, I think they're a little bit ahead of where we thought they'd be, but are they going to be a playoff team? Probably not. You've got to think that Calgary, Edmonton, Vegas have those spots sewn up. Anaheim's a maybe. And again, with San Jose, we'll see. But it's going to be interesting to see how this all turns out for San Jose. Nashville, 11-9-1, 548 points percentage. The month of November, 7-5-1. Matt Duchene, what a story. 21 games, 13 goals, 9 assists, 22 points. What a difference some confidence seems to make, and he's been on a hot streak basically this whole season. It's a completely different player than we saw last year. So Duchene's been fantastic. Nashville's overall record is kind of And again, comparatively speaking with this division, and 7-5-1 in the month of November, I'll say that based on the fact that they were supposed to be outside the playoffs, they are. I'll throw them a C+ as well, the same grade as San Jose, who have the same record. So I think that's fine. Detroit, 10-9-3, 523 points percentage in November, 6-6-1. And yeah, they've won 10 out of 22 games. They've been good. They've also had some setbacks. There's a lot of young players on this team, and I don't expect them to be in the playoffs, but they'll be competitive. And if you don't go into a game with the right amount of intensity, and if you don't respect them, they're going to beat you. 6-6-1 in November shows you that, yeah, they're about a 500 team. Maurice Sider. So while everybody's talking about Raymond, and there's some talking about Sider as well, 22 games, 2 goals, 12 assists, 14 points. I think what surprises me with Sider is, and I knew he was supposed to be a good defenseman, if he ends up scoring 40-plus points as a rookie, he could be a 60-point player as a defenseman. You're never going to have another Nick Lidstrom, but this could be an elite-level defenseman for Detroit. So based on what we expected from them this year, I'll give them a solid. I'll give them a B. Sure, why not? Yeah, that looks fine, right? Nobody will complain. People do when I do these videos, and it's fine. They're not. These are not scientifically binding in any way. And they don't actually get like report cards from me. I don't do that. Boston 11-7, 611 points percentage. I've been saying this season that I think Boston is playing better than people give them credit for. Although in November at 7-4, there have been some concerning signs for me as a Boston fan. We'll see tonight when they play against Detroit how it works out for them, because they beat Detroit handedly the first time, but we'll see how it works out tonight. Bergeron, 18 games, 8 goals, 10 assists, 18 points. With Marchand out for the next 3 games with a suspension, Bergeron may very well score more often. Keep in mind that Bergeron's been on quite the tear ever since there was questions early in the season about whether or not his heart was still in it. Turns out it is. If Bergeron's heart wasn't in it, he wouldn't play. I don't think that if Bergeron wasn't giving 100% that he would actually go out on the ice and play. But for Boston, and again, this is based on my expectation, I'm giving them a C right now. There's just too many things I look at with Boston, and I say, they may end up getting themselves into a playoff spot, but with the way this team's made up right now, with the way this season's gone, if they do get in, especially, as a wild card playing one of the top teams, I don't like their odds. Let's say they ended up playing against Capitals in the first round if they're a wild card and they flip over to the division, or if they play against Tampa or even Florida. I don't like their odds. Now, if it was Toronto, well, that might be interesting, especially if Toronto got the Game 7. Toronto hasn't had a Game 7. They haven't been the home team against Boston in a Game 7. So that could change things, but we'll see. Dallas is tough. They're 10-7-2 on the season, 579 points percentage. 7-3-1 in the month of November. Robertson started to get it back. 5 goals and 8 assists, 13 points in 13 games. He's been very good, and it seems like he's dragging Roope Hintz along with him. Considering where I had him not too long ago, I'll give them a C+ overall. Keep in mind they would have probably got a bit of a failing grade before the winning streak. But yeah, I'll give them a C+ right now. We'll see if the winning streak continues. It's definitely going to be tested by Carolina tonight. And I know people are going to say, well, Carolina without 3 of their defensemen. It's still the Hurricanes, and they're still Dallas. Dallas is still capable of losing games against Carolina. I saw it last year. It's possible. New Jersey, 9-6-4 on the season, 579 points percentage, the same as Dallas. Month of November, a little bit more difficult for them, 5-4-3 overall. So they've won 5 out of 12 games in the month of November. Jesper Bratt has been fantastic for them. 19 games, 5 goals, 12 assists, 17 points. Bratt is finally showing what those of us who have campaigned for him for years knew. He has the offense, just give him the ice time. Just give him the chance, give him the ice time. He'll prove himself. For me with New Jersey, especially with the fact that Hughes has been out as long as he has, I'll give him a B-. I think that's fair. The New Jersey Devils have played relatively well, and we'll see how things work out with them when they're healthy. I always kind of want to put like an asterisk next to me, like if I was editing videos, put the asterisk up every time I say when they're healthy, and have like a disclaimer at the bottom of the video saying teams are never actually healthy. It's just a pipe dream that us hockey fans have. And that's usually the case, because we'll say, when that team's healthy. It doesn't normally happen. LA, 9-8-3 on the season, 525 points percentage. In November, they're 6-3-2. They lose a bunch, they win a bunch, they lose a bunch. Are they starting to win again? According to the game against Toronto, probably not. The interesting thing for me with them is Victor Arvidsson on the first line. He's given every opportunity right now to succeed. In 13 games, 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points, and it feels like he could have a lot more than that. If he can stay healthy, get into a rhythm, he might be a guy you want in your fantasy hockey league. For LA, you know what? I'm going to give him a B overall. After that 1-5-1 start, and everybody just saying that's it, they need to make a change behind the bench, or they need to fire some guys or something. And everything that goes on in LA, I think that's a respectable record. Again, it's about how they're playing versus what was expected. That's leading me to the grades I'm giving them. Thus, a B for LA. And with a similar record, if not better record, Winnipeg gets a C. So that's why. Philadelphia, 8-8-4, 500 points percentage on the season, 4-6-3 in the month of November. It's going bad. Kevin Hayes is the guy I want to isolate here because he's only played 2 games. He comes back from injury and gets injured again right away. 1 goal, 1 assist in those 2 games. For me, Philadelphia, C- for Philadelphia. First C- on the board. Yeah. Buffalo, 8-11-3 on the season, 432 points percentage. In the month of November, 3-9-2. Tage Thompson stands out to me. He's the leading scorer for Buffalo right now. 10 goals, 6 assists, 16 points in 22 games. Nothing short of remarkable seeing Tage Thompson as the leading scorer. The work ethic's always been there, and now the goal scoring's there as well. So it took a while, but he's there. But what we expected from Buffalo was really kind of what we're seeing. So I can't give them a failing grade when they've actually probably got a better record than we would have expected at this point in the season at 8-11-3. Seattle, 8-13-1, 386 points percentage. The reason that I wanted to talk about this today and grade teams is Seattle and what I've seen of them from the last week and a half. They're 5-8 in the month of November. So it's a poor record in November. However, they've won 4 out of 5. Jared McCann is really starting to turn it on. 17 games, 10 goals, 4 assists for 14 points. So he is scoring at an incredible rate. We knew there'd be some players who did that in Seattle. You're getting more ice time. You're getting a chance to prove you're top 6 guy. McCann and Eberle have both absolutely taken that and run with it. So's Jaden Schwartz. So Seattle, honestly, for me at this point, I'm going to give them a C because their overall record of 8-13-1 might be a little bit below what was expected, but the 4 wins in their last 5, they're legit. And so we'll see how long that stays the case. Maybe it changes back, right? Maybe a month from now I'm saying, well, it turns out that was a mirage. That was a nice 5-game run, but the thing is that the advanced stats, all the analytics would tell you that Seattle was better than their record at 4-12-1. Now they're playing the way that they should and they're winning the games. It's possible that they can follow this up and keep going, especially as we see the other teams in the division that are based in California starting to lose some ground on them. So we'll see whether or not that continues to be the case. Chicago, 7-12-1 or 7-12-2 on the season, 381 points percentage, but 7-5 in the month of November. So their record is above 500 in November. Seth Jones, 21 games, 2 goals, 15 assists, 17 points. Offensively, on the power play, excellent. His defensive game, a work in progress. Is he going to be overpaid when that extension kicks in? Probably yes. But for Chicago in general, it's been, again, a bit of a turnaround, but I can't give them anything above a C-. The expectation for Chicago this year was a little bit raised. They were kind of expected to be in this area of the standings, more with a Nashville-type record than what they're looking at. And so their early part of the season where they look like a disaster. For me, for the quarter, drags down their grade to a C-. For November itself, I'd give them probably a B-, but overall it's a C-. Vancouver, 7-14-2, 348 points percentage. This wasn't supposed to happen. They weren't supposed to be this low in the standings. They're 4-9-1 in November. So before everybody starts congratulating them for that win last night, we'll just back off. And beating Montreal is a big deal because they don't normally win in Montreal, but still. Montreal's not Montreal right now either. Pedersen does still stand out for the wrong reasons for Vancouver. With the goal last night, he now has 4 goals and 7 assists, 11 points in 23 games. And for Vancouver, it's got to be an F. And I don't know how many Fs I give out. It has to be. The expectation, again, much like Chicago, was that they'd be in this region of the standings, at least relevant and winning their share of games. And they just haven't. It's just been a disaster. Montreal, 6-16-2, 292 points percentage. That is so woefully bad. November, 4-8-2. So it was really a battle of the Titans yesterday between them and Vancouver, seeing who's going to have the worst record. And it's Montreal. Tyler Toffoli is still their leading scorer. He has one more goal than Nick Suzuki. So Suzuki also has 15 points. He has 4 goals and 11 assists. Toffoli, 24 games, 5 goals, 10 assists, 15 points. So he's on pace to be their leading scorer, but he's also on pace for about 18 goals this year. Maybe he gets to 20, but for Toffoli, it's been a down year. For all of Montreal, it's been a down year. They've already fired management. So I'll come out and say it's been an F so far for Montreal. So Montreal and Vancouver both get failing grades. How about the Islanders? Do they get a failing grade? This is where it's tough. Because for the Islanders, there are some mitigating circumstances. You had a 13-game road trip to start the season. That's brutal. Then they go home. They're dealing with people on the protocol list, and it's a lot of them. So they're 5-10-2 currently, .353 points percentage, which is better than both Montreal and Vancouver. So I have seen the Islanders as low in a power rankings as 31st. I think that's a little bit harsh right now. But in the month of November, they are 2-8. So it's understandable. It's harsh, but it is understandable. Matthew Barzal stands out to me as a guy who was supposed to have hit his next level. He hasn't yet. So I'm perfectly willing to take Barzal here in Vancouver. That'd be great. He's local here. And I think a gift package of Tyler Myers, some chocolates. Yeah, I think that would work. So it's not going to happen. It's just not. 17 games, 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points for Barzal. And again, that's disappointing by his standard. So I'm not going to give them an F. I'm going to give them a grade of a D, though. So, because they were supposed to be one of the better teams in the division, and I know there's a lot of things conspiring against them, but 5-10-2. Arizona, 5-15-2, 273 points percentage. But in the month of November, they're 5-7-1, which is respectable. And they went in and stole one in Winnipeg last night. And whether it was Winnipeg shooting themselves in the foot, or it was Arizona coming in and playing a really good game as an underdog, it worked. Goss Despair is having a very good season. 22 games, 3 goals, 12 assists, 15 points. Ghost is on pace for about 50 points this year. And that would be a huge comeback for him. And then, for Arizona, if he's on that kind of pace, you can sell him at the deadline. It's not like Arizona's going to be in a playoff spot. What they're doing right now is these guys who are playing for them, they are increasing their trade value. And maybe they sat them down and said, hey guys, so this is a miserable year and we get it. The better you play out there, the greater value you have. And then maybe at the deadline, you get a chance to go to a Tampa or a Toronto or Carolina and you get a shot at a cup. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Ghost and how long he's there. Same with Phil Kessel. And I got to be honest, Wedgwood, Vejmelka, if they keep playing well, Vejmelka should stay there, but who knows? It's Arizona, right? So Arizona, bafflingly, I'll give them a C. They're kind of playing better than we might have expected for the month of November, and they're playing well enough right now. I can't give them a failing grade. I mean, I could, but they're getting better. That 273 points percentage is anemic. It was below 100 coming into this month, so it's better than it was. And now they've got 5 wins, where we can stop worrying about them falling below that 8 win mark. And ask ourselves, can they win 20? The way they're playing right now, I think the answer is yes. And I did think it was funny, too. There's already people saying, so because of goaltending, they might miss out on getting the number 1 draft pick. Absolutely, they could. Ottawa, 4-14-1, 237 points percentage. So they're behind Arizona. They have games in hand, but they're behind them on points percentage as well. 1-10-1 November. It's been rough. And that's including games that were postponed and not played. So it was going to be a busy November, and, we'll see how things turn out for them. Brady Tkachuk, I think it's been mixed results so far with him with his new contract. 16 games, 4 goals, 7 assists, 11 points. And so we'll see. But based on what we had expected of them early in the season, based on Matt Murray being sent down and all the disarray that's there, they get the failing grade too. So the only 3 failing grades on the board, all Canadian teams. Vancouver, Montreal, and Ottawa. There you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.